Hi, my name's Chuck Wooden. I'm also joined by my co-hosts, Monique Melanson-Hunter, and you're watching the Veterans Corner.
Thank you, Chuck. If you haven't seen the Veterans Corner before, it's a show dedicated to our veterans, their families, and all those who give their support to our veteran community.
Our topic today is, actually it's a two-part segment. The first part was on Agent Orange. I'm sure you recognize this gentleman in the middle here, Gerry Wright. Gerry's been on the show a number of times. The first segment, we had a very good discussion on many aspects of Agent Orange. And there was so much information to cover. We're here today for the second half. So we want to make sure that we get as much information out to you, the viewers, as we possibly can. So with that being said, I don't know. What I'm going to do is, if you didn't see the first show, I'm going to give you Gerry's little bio here. He's retired from the United States Army. He served with the 19th Combat Engineers from 1969 to 1970 in Vietnam. He is an Agent Orange survivor. He was inducted into the Connecticut Veterans Hall of Fame in 2014. And as with the last show, I mean, that deserves a handshake. Congratulations
so much, Gerry.
on that.
Thank you.
He's also a member of the following VSOs, Veteran Service Organizations, the American Legion, the VFW, DAV. He's also a member of the AMVETS and the Vietnam Veterans Association of America. I always miss that one. I'm going to have to practice that. But with that being said, I'm not going to ask you, where you served. I pretty much just did that. And on behalf of the show here, Monique, myself, the viewers, we want to thank you very much for your service. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
We've got a lot to cover. We covered a lot the first show. I think there was one topic that we didn't really touch. We touched on a little bit. And I think, Monique, you want to jump into that one?
Yeah, I think people will want to know more about this, Gerry. So in the last show, we talked about the illnesses associated with Agent Orange.
Yes.
And you said that the VA wants to add 9 more illnesses to the current 14.
Yes.
So what's your take on that? What's that move by the VA? What's that for?
Well, I have to look at as I would see it, and I would see it as dangling a carrot in front of our nose that okay, we're going to give you a little bit more. They know that there's 50 illnesses we could have from Agent Orange. They know that, but they're only going to give us a little bit at a time. 91, they give us some. 2007, 2008, they give us a few more. A couple years ago, they gave us ischemic heart disease. They should have given us hypertension because there is significant evidence to prove that hypertension is caused by Agent Orange, more than ischemic heart disease. But as we age, we tend to have hypertension. They knew that was going to cost more than ischemic heart disease, so they put ischemic heart disease first. So again, playing with numbers, playing with things, I think they're playing with us, and I hope they do. I hope they give it to us, and we can drive on. So
it's again a money issue. It's all about the numbers, like you said before. So we had also talked a little bit about your service. We talked about it in the beginning of the show, and we talked about it in the last show. But I'm interested in your when you volunteered for active duty for Desert Storm in 1991. Were you already in the National Guard at that point?
Yes, I was a staff sergeant in the National Guard. I was divorced at the time, and they said nobody from the National Guard from Connecticut was going to go for Desert Storm. And if you recall, in 91, we became very a patriotic country. Yeah. American flags were flying everywhere. We were behind President Bush and what he was doing. And then when we went into Kuwait and heading up towards Baghdad, I wanted to go. So I wrote a letter to the National Guard Bureau. I says, I'm a staff sergeant with 5 MOSs, pick one and send me. Well, be careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. And I received a letter on Tuesday hand-carried by the postman right to my house to report to Fort Linwood, Missouri, 1800 on Friday. Bag and baggage. And I showed up with 2,200 others, and we trained for a month, and we sat down and we're getting ready to leave. 4 hours later, the war ended, and 2 weeks later, all 2,200 got sent home. So I never got to go.
What was the reaction of your family in 1991 after you'd already volunteered for the service during the Vietnam War? Now you're volunteering again. So what about your parents? What about your other family members?
You see, being we were all associated to the military one way or the other. When I mentioned it to my father, he just sat there and he just got white-faced. He didn't say anything. He just sat there. And I've seen my mom cry twice in my life. One when she smashed her fingers in the wood stove with a hunk of wood. And
that will do it.
And the second time was when I told her I was going to over to Kuwait. And I had my orders for a year to go to Kuwait. And she cried crocodile tears and walked away. She said, "You put us through heck when you volunteered to go to Vietnam, and you did it again in Vietnam twice. And why are you doing it now?" And I really didn't have an answer other than I'm proud to wear the uniform, and
proud to serve.
It was to serve my country. Yeah.
Right.
That's you know, for those that have been following the news here in Connecticut, it was all over the place that you had the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a guest at the State of the Union address in Washington this year, which took place a couple months ago.
Yep.
Can you share with the viewers your thoughts on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and who did you meet and talk to while you were there?
Yep. Well, every senator in the country and every House of Representatives, there's 435 of them, and 100 senators in this country, are allowed one guest for the State of the Union. And Senator Blumenthal actually picked me to go with him as his guest February 5th of 2019 to the State of the Union. And I stopped him when we were at the LOB building in Hartford, and I said, "So, Senator, why are you picking on me? No, I mean, why did you pick me?" And he laughed the same way. Is because of my advocacy for the Agent Orange and the Vietnam veteran. And he thought that was useful for him to have me go to Washington to talk to other senators, as actually because I was boots on the ground. I sprayed Agent Orange in Vietnam. I sprayed off the back of a truck. I have pictures of it. And my best friend, Jay Bloom from Minnesota, died from it at 59 years old. It took his throat through Hodgkin's disease, and then took his heart, and he died from that. So I kind of got to represent my old unit, the 19th Combat Engineers, and Jay. It was really interesting to watch what was going on in the House, watching Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, who would control everything with eye movement or hand movement. It was awesome to watch that. To see Chuck Yeager, first man to plant the flag on the moon, right?
Yep.
Right.
Sitting there. I was only 50 feet from him. The president's wife and his daughter, they're absolutely beautiful. To actually see them was just really something. I was awed by that. And one thing that really struck me was the World War II man that was there that helped to liberate the train that was carrying the prisoners, the Jews, to the chambers. And the Americans stopped the train, and they said, "The Americans are here, the Americans are here." They liberated the train. And he got to meet the people, the family, and the person that he liberated there that day. The president brought them. The chamber just came alive. And the president, everybody was clapping, and the president said, "And I want to let you know that World War II, his name, his birthday was today." And the whole house sung happy birthday to him. And my thought was, we can come together.
Yeah.
We can come together, quit the animosity and the fighting and the insecurities, and come together as a group of people or a nation and sing happy birthday to this man.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see that. That was a highlight for me.
Coming together for a common cause. It's just it's too bad they can't do it for all causes.
Right.
For the good of the country.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I did get to go to the Senator's Supper that night, and I got to meet Mark Rubio and Mitt Romney and Senator Udall from Arizona, which is a very nice guy. Johnny Isaacson, I got to meet him briefly. But one of the biggest things was probably meeting John Testa from Montana. He's like 6'5", 300 pounds. And Senator Blumenthal introduced me, and he jumps out of his chair and says, "Gerry, I heard about you." Shook my hand. He said, "Doing the things on the Agent Orange." And I knew he was from Montana, so I said, "Excuse me, Senator, are you from Montana?" I just had to do that. He says, "I am." I said, "Do you know a guy named Jack Fow?" He says, "I do." He said, he's a Blue Water Navy, and he's sick from Agent Orange. And I said, "Did you know Jack died Friday?"
Wow.
And he goes, "I didn't."
Ugh.
I said, "Well, I heard from Linda," because I called Jack once a week to encourage him to hang in there. You know, wait till HR 299 gets passed. And he passed away, and he promised me that he would call his wife. But I wanted to meet Tammy Duckworth. She is a senator from Illinois, and she lost both legs in, I believe it was Iraq, in a helicopter shot down. And happened to be sitting at the table that I walked up to, and I says, "Senator, I admire you." I says, "I admire you for your fortitude. You're strong." I says, and she grabbed me, she pulled me up to her wheelchair, she gave me a hug and kissed me on the cheek and said, "Gerry, whatever you need, you contact my office, I'll remember you. Sit down and have supper with me." And I sat down and had supper with her.
Wow.
Wow.
So just things like that. And then I'm standing there and Senator Udall introduced me to his guest. And it's nice to meet other guests.
Yeah.
And this guy was standing by, big guy, and I admired his pin on his lapel of his suit. I said, "I've never seen a pin like that." And he started telling me about his pin, and he reached up, took his pin off, put my hand out, shook my hand, and gave me his pin. His name is Jonathan Nees. He's the president of the Navajo Nation
Wow. That is
in
amazing.
Arizona. He covers 3 states, and that pin represented the Navajo Nations. 50 arrows,
Wow.
horse, a sheep. And I'm thinking the whole time, I said, you know, we didn't exactly do the Indians right here.
Yeah.
And here he is making peace with a white boy,
Yeah.
and he gave me his pin before we went for the State of the Union. And I cherished that. It was just,
Much
You know-
left you speechless.
yeah, it did.
I mean,
And now I'm on email with him, and we communicate back and forth, so,
that's great.
yep.
That's great. You're talking about meeting all these legislators and the ones that say, call me,
Yep.
anything you need,
Right.
which is a common thing that you usually hear.
Yep.
Now, I guess my next question is, the ones that you were talking to, were they receptive to, the HR 566
Yes.
and the Senate Bill 332? Do you think those that said that they were, if you need anything, call them, do you think you might have them on board?
You would think so.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that if you did not recommend or write that bill, then you're so not apt to sponsor it.
Yeah.
Because you sponsored it. If I sponsored Chuck as my friend, you probably would co-sponsor it, as you would co-sponsor it. But then I'd have to co-sponsor one of your bills.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the political end of it is,
Right.
Yeah.
and I'm not going to get into that. But it's not for me, it's for all the Vietnam veterans.
It's amazing. I mean, we see it all the time. What actually goes on down there.
It's true.
You've got a worthy cause here that should be a no-brainer. I mean, we should be standing behind our Vietnam veterans, our Korean War veterans, who have been exposed to these dioxins. And as we talked in the past, and we haven't mentioned it yet in the first segment or this one, and I think it might be worthy of mentioning now, it's not just Agent Orange. How many colors were there? There was a number of them.
Agent Blue, Agent White, Agent Pink, Agent Green.
Yeah, and they all have different, they're all dioxins, right?
Nope.
No? Okay, so,
I heard that
misspoke.
Agent White was a cyanide, but then I also heard the Agent Blue,
Yeah.
and they'd mix them. So Agent Blue and Agent White mix was a cyanide, and they used that to spray down to make on Delta, which gets into the swift boat Navy sailors. I'm telling you what, if I was in the Navy, those guys, I give them so much credit on those swift boats. I traveled in the rivers, and they sprayed Agent Orange on both sides of the riverbanks.
Yeah.
They were so contaminated. They lived in their boats. They drank the water. They were swimming in the rivers. And now I have the Swift Boat Navy Boat Association from Vietnam sent me a letter of endorsement last week with 505 names. So they're behind what we're doing here.
Good.
And they're out of Georgia.
So you wrote 5 resolutions.
Yes.
For the VSOs, the VFW, DAV, AMVETS, Vietnam Veterans Association of America, and the American Legion. So can you share some of the details of those with the viewers? Do you think, I know you mentioned that the Swift Boat Sailors were behind you. Anybody else?
Well, ones I've written resolutions for, the VFW, see, anytime you write for the VFW, DAVs, the Legions, they have to pass your post. They then have to be sent to the state, pass the state, and then go into national. So far, the VVA, I got a letter today, I believe it or not, from the VVA that passed a resolution that's off to national. And that's in Spokane, Washington. They've asked me to be a delegate, and I plan on riding the motorcycle and trailer out there, which is going to be about a 6,000-mile trip in July to speak at the national convention. Our Legion has already sponsored it through Resolution 18 last year, and they're bringing that up to the new Congress now. I talked to them today in Washington, and the DAV is being handled by my local chapter, DAV 17, and the VFW at my post 8776 in Hebron passed it. It's now gone to state. So all these have to go to national, which most of the conventions are July and August. And then I was told by the MVETs, and I was out in Binghamton, New York, speaking with them last weekend, and they said that there's no problem. This is going to pass the national MVETs.
That's great.
So,
Gerry, what can the public do to encourage their senators and their congressmen to get on board with this bill? And if they don't get behind the bill, what's going to happen?
Well, what we need is co-sponsors. You can check the bill as written by going to congress.gov HR 566 or congress.gov S332. You can see the bill as written and who the co-sponsors are. At that point, call your Congress and senators and ask them politely if they would co-sponsor that bill to help the Vietnam vets. You can go to my Facebook page, Sprayed and Betrayed AO. My email is there, my phone number's there. Call me, email me. Be more than glad to share any kind of information with you.
It's extremely, I mean, we got to emphasize to the viewers that it's extremely important. The more people that get behind this and help you in your quest to get these passed, the better. What's the old saying? Was it the old squeaky
wheel gets the grease,
yeah,
Chuck?
Yeah, there we go. Right. It's been a long day, and thank you. You know, and it's true. It's true. So, you know, the viewers, you know, the information's been put out there. All we need to do is make those contacts. Well,
it's like the Veterans Corner. If we didn't have Chuck and have Monique over here to help us get the word out, it's hard as an individual to do that. I do have to thank NBC in Connecticut. Channel 3 has been awesome. ABC came to my house and they interviewed me there. And I actually had to call in on Fox 61 when I was in Washington. That call in that next morning, they asked me live on TV how the State of the Union went. So the news media in Connecticut, the JI has been great. The current, the River East, the newspapers have been putting a lot out. And I need to get out. I need to get more like Ennis, Texas. When I was in Ennis, Texas, and I had the picture taken beside the Agent Orange Monument, the newspaper in Ennis, Texas has written a story 3 times in the last 9 months in Texas.
Yeah.
So we got to get more national. So if anybody out there knows anybody.
I was just going to say, you know, we're talking about this here. Yep. It's not just Connecticut.
No.
I mean, this is a national movement to try to get these bills passed. you know, we've got, I know in the Veterans Corner, we do have viewers that are outside of Connecticut.
Yeah.
The Veterans Corner itself is growing, and that's great. It's great for all the guests that we have on as far as exposure, and especially for causes like this.
Yep.
You know, you always have a platform here. This is what, the fourth?
Oh, at least.
Yeah, at least the fourth
I
time.
think I've got 5 mugs now.
Yeah, you got a collection of
Yeah,
them.
collection of
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start taking them back.
Okay.
But you know, I personally have learned so much.
And you know, not only the veterans, but we have a lot of family that watches the show as
Yeah.
well. So they may have an uncle that's out of state, and the information that you're imparting on this show, Gerry, is so important because, you know, it could get someone to go to the VA and maybe get them some services. Maybe they've been wondering, maybe they're afraid to go, and maybe this will help them, you know, get to the VA and get the services that they need.
Get on that registry.
Yes, get on the registry.
Don't be discouraged
Right.
with the VA because they will deny you.
That's
Yeah.
right. And
Don't-
you're there to support them,
You've
right?
got to get back
Yep.
up and do it again and do it again. And just get a good VSO. Get the Legion or the DAV behind
Yeah.
you, the VFW. Get a good VSO to help you with your claim.
Service officers on all the major VSOs. They're both in Newington and in
Right.
West Haven.
Yes.
So you know, don't hesitate to contact these service officers. They're trained. They go through extensive training to help you, the veterans. I mean, it just like we just had Donna from
Dodman
from the Veterans
Oh, I know
Strong.
Donna. Yes.
Right.
The last time we taped.
And Chuck, just to remember, that made me think about what Donna said, but that information is held in confidence.
Yes.
So if you do talk to any of those representatives or with Donna or any of the other VSOs,
Yeah.
what you tell them is held in confidence. And I think that's a big, that's something big for our veterans. They want to make sure that what they're talking about
Well,
is
there's a lot of
held in
veterans
confidence.
who have not come out of the shadows because of that.
Right.
They may be suffering from PTSD, a number of reasons. That's why they don't come out. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I mean, when Donna was here, we made sure that we said that over and over again.
Right.
It's confidential. Anytime that you go for help, you know, it's not put in the newsletter. You know, wherever you go. I'm not trying to be funny, but you know, I'm making a point that nobody is going to find out about that except between you and the person that you're talking to. Now, we've only got a couple minutes left. Once again, 25 minutes goes by pretty fast. And actually, I said a couple minutes, it was right on cue. Got 2 minutes left. So, is there anything else you'd like to share with the viewers?
Well, my concern is with the 10,000 nurses that served during that 10-year period in Vietnam. I would love to meet them and see if they've had any problems with the Agent Orange. Remember, there's over 58,469 names on the wall in Washington, and yet there's over 750,000 of us have died from presumptive diseases from Agent Orange. The VA stopped counting in 2016 when they said there was 300,000 Vietnam veterans had died from presumptive diseases from Agent Orange. And for some reason, they don't want to release any more.
Well, you know that if you were in country, you were exposed to it. The nurses, I mean, they were treating all the wounded. They're right there in the front lines.
Yep.
They're drinking the water.
Yep.
They're eating the food that was prepared with the water. So, I mean, everyone that was there was affected. Well, we got 1 minute left, so we're going to have to wrap it up. You know, Gerry, it's always an honor, and I mean that sincerely, from my heart. It's always an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Gerry.
And like I said, you know, you always have a platform here. We always learn so much.
That's right.
It's always
you do.
very
It's
informative.
something new
Yep.
every time.
You know, thank you. You know, I know we talk a lot, you know, off the show. You know, don't be afraid to, you know, text me and say, listen, something came up. We need some time. So you always have that here. So
Well, next time we'll talk about the book I've been asked to co-author.
there
Right
you
here.
go. There you go.
And it's got to be all in print, and it'll be ready by the end of the summer.
Well, you know what? We got the summer rotation.
Got the summer rotation.
And you will be here. That's all the time we have. Once again, thanks to the guests. Thanks for the viewers for watching. My name's Chuck Wooden.
And I'm Monique Melanson Hunter.
Good night, and we'll see you next time on the Veterans Corner.